I'm gonna give you guys the top 10 best loadouts in Warzone 2. These can also be used in Modern Warfare 2, so you'll be good there. These are meta. And by the way, I just unlocked the ghoulie camo, so if you guys want to be hooked up with the ghoulie camo, I can grind it for you. All you guys have to do is comment ghoulie in the comment section and subscribe, post notifications. So we're gonna start out with the ISO 9mm. I threw on the X10 RR40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down, sight speed, and aiming stability. Trust me, you want to have the X10 RR40 on. Without it, it just does not hit the same. The range is just not as good. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 0.71 inches and the aim down, sight speed to negative 0.77 ounces. Now the barrel is just as important, but I have some other things that are crucial to this gun. This is for damage range, hip fire accuracy, movement speed, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down, sight speed, hip recoil control, and recoil control. For the tuning, set the damage range of 0.30 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.47 pounds. Put on the VLK Laser 7 MW for aim down, sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. Just be prepared. They're going to know where you're coming from if you're just ADSing non-stop. So be prepared to ADS at the crucial moments. For the tuning, set the aim down, sight speed to negative 24.68 feet. If you get it on your first try, let me know in the comments. And for the weight, put it to negative 0.23 ounces for sprint to fire speed. 50 round drum because there's no better option. Believe me, this is the best possible choice. And put on the Res 2 stock for sprint speed, crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. For the tuning, set the aiming out stability at 1.94 inches and the aim down sight speed to negative 1.94 ounces. So basically the same thing, just positive and negative. Next, we're moving on to the Lachmann 556. Start with the Harbinger D20 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking speed. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 0.55 inches and the recoil smoothness to 1.08 ounces. Put on the 5.56 high velocity. Trust me, this needs it. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 8.42 GR and the damage range of 0.59 G. Put on the 15.9 Lachmann rat barrel for recoil control, bullet velocity, damage range, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. For the tuning, increase the recoil steadiness by 0.37 pounds. The damage range does not help, believe me. Like you see, it just does not help at all, so just do not change it. You should just leave it where it is. Keep it to around 1 or 0 and you'll be good to go. Aim out V4. Now this is just personal preference. You can use any sight that you want to, but if you choose to use this, set the tuning to max out the far distance. 60 round mag because you want to have as many bullets as possible. This shoots very fast. Next, we're moving on to the Kastov 762. This thing is absolutely broken. Start out with the second tread 40 for vertical and horizontal recoil control at the cost of aim down, sight speed, and aiming stability. For the tuning, set the recoil control to 0.11 inches and the recoil stabilization of 0.44 ounces. Put on the Cast 10 584mm barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control at the cost of aim down, sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. For the tuning, set the damage range of 0.26 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.29 pounds. Put on the lock grip precision 40. You do not have to tune this, but set the hits for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of aim down, sight speed. The big thing is the recoil steadiness. This thing helps it control recoil so much. Put on a 40 round mag because there's no better option. This is, if I could have more bullets, I would, but unfortunately you can only have 40 round mag. And once again, this is my personal preference. Aim out V4. For the tuning, max out the far distance. If you want to change the weight, you can, but I just don't. It's completely your preference. Next, I have the little brother. Now this thing is very interesting, but it's a Kastov 545. This thing is amazing for mobility. It's basically a lighter Kastov 762, but it still gets the job done. Put on the Echoless 80 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down, sight speed, and aiming stability. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 0.45 inches and don't change the weight. If you want to, I mean, I would suggest changing the recoil smoothness, but as you guys see, I don't really think it's that significant. You can change it, you cannot change it. Either way, it's completely fine. IG K30 406mm for the barrel for recoil control, bullet velocity, damage range, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down, sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. So the damage range of 0.21 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.19 pounds. 5.45 high velocity for bullet velocity at the cost of damage range, but we're going to fix that right now. Bullet velocity of 4.94 GR and the damage range of 0.20 Gs. 60 round mag. You don't want to use either one of these. I mean, these goes through bullets very quickly, so you want to have the 60. Aim out V4, personal preference of optic. Tuning is set to the far distance, maxed out. Next is the TR-76 Geist. This thing is still my favorite AR. Start out with the Polar Fire S for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down, sight speed, and aiming stability. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 0.32 inches and the recoil smoothness at 0.90 ounces. Brune Bridle Heavy for recoil control, damage range, bullet velocity, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down, sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. For the damage range, put it to 0.25 inches and the recoil steadiness at 0.50 pounds. 7.62 high velocity for bullet velocity at the cost of damage range, which we're going to fix. For the tuning, set the bullet velocity at 9 GR and the damage range of 0.7 Gs. 45 round mag because it's the best possible choice. Geist single tap is terrible. Don't ever use it. And aim out V4. This is the best possible choice for me, but if you guys want to use something else, completely your preference. Max out the far distance. BAS-P has become a new fan favorite. It's just an overall great SMG. Start with the XNRR40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down, sight speed, and aiming stability. So the bullet velocity set to 0.55 inches and do not change the weight. If you want to change it, I mean, it's completely up to you, but I just don't think it's worth it. Put on the Merc foregrip for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, hip recoil control, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of hip walking speed and aim down sight speed. I did not tune this, so you can just leave this alone. BLK laser 7 MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of laser being visible in ADS. Always keep that in mind. If you guys don't want the laser, then all you guys have to do is switch it over for either the FJX Ultra Beam or the EXF Solar Flare, and you'll have a flashlight instead of a beam, which I think is less noticeable. For the tuning, aim down sight speed is negative 19.74 feet. Let me know in the comment section if you get it on your first try. Sprint to fire speed, negative 0.32 ounces. Broom flash of V4 stock for sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. For the tuning, I set the aim walking speed to negative 1.86 inches and aim down sight speed to negative 2.71 ounces. And I put on a 50 round drum because this is the best possible choice for the BAS-P. Another SMG that's been slept on is the Vaznev 9K. This still is amazing, especially in competitive set. Put on the X10R40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Set the bullet velocity at 0.39 inches and the weight to negative 0.05 ounces. Put on the Cast 1 254mm for damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. For the tuning, set the damage range of 0.15 inches and the recoil steadiness of 0.34 pounds. 45 round mag. Broadside FCT for aiming stability, crouch movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint speed at the cost of aim walking speed and recoil control. For the tuning, set the aiming out stability at 0.70 inches and the aim down sight speed to negative 3.87 ounces. And then put on true tack grip for sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control, which you won't even notice. For the tuning, set the sprint to fire speed to negative 0.15 inches and the recoil steadiness to 0.58 ounces. 45 round mag is just the optimal choice. I don't think you want to stick with 30. I think 45 is the best for all of the gunfights you're going to get into. Fan favorite MP5, aka the Lachmann Sub. This thing is beautiful and still meta. Start with XNR40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. For the tuning, you can increase the bullet velocity, so I set it to around about 0.40. Recoil smoothness, you can also increase that to around the 0.60 region. If you go further, you can, but it's just going to have more cons. Merc foregrip for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, hip recoil control, and aim down sights. And Merc foregrip for hip fire accuracy, recoil steadiness, hip recoil control, and aim walking steadiness at the cost of hip walking speed and aim down sight speed. You did not tune this, so don't worry about that. 40 round mag, I mean, you can use the 50, but I just don't think it's necessary. This shoots at a good enough rate to where 40 is more than enough, but if you want to use the 50, feel free. EXF solar flare for flashlight, sprint to fire speed, aiming stability at the cost of flashlight being visible in enemies. Obviously, like I said before, if you guys don't want to use that, you guys can use the VLK laser 7 MW and tune it to make it more of a speed build, but I think this is more than enough and you won't actually be discovered by the laser. FT mobile stock for sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. For the tuning, I set the aim walking speed to negative 1.47 inches and the aim down sight speed to negative 3.23 ounces. The Cronen Squall is so heavily slept on, but this thing is still absolutely amazing and still meta. Put on the second tread 40 for vertical and horizontal recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. For the tuning, set the recoil control to 0.28 inches and the recoil stabilization to 0.59 ounces. Put on the HR 6.8 barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. Set the damage range of 0.37 inches and the recoil steadiness of 0.39 pounds. Aim op V4, this is my personal preference. The tuning, max out the far distance. 6.8 high velocity for bullet velocity to cause some damage range. This thing is already maxed out on. Put the bullet velocity 8.71 GR and the damage range of 0.50 Gs and a 50 round drum because this is the optimal choice. 30 is just not enough. You could use 30 in maybe multiplayer, so if you want to switch that out for multiplayer, feel free. And the MP7 is the final weapon. It's absolutely amazing still. You guys can use it and slay in both multiplayer and Warzone 2 with this build. XNR40 for sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Set the bullet velocity 0.32 inches and do not change the weight. It's just not necessary. Schlager L203 barrel for damage range, hip fire accuracy, bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. For the tuning, set the damage range of 0.30 inches and do not change the weight. Once again, I know you guys are gonna be scratching your head on that, but it does not help. Put on the VLK laser 7 MW for aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. Increase the aim down sight speed to around negative 23.46 feet. If you get on first try, let me know. And sprint to fire speed in negative 0.37 ounces. 50 round mag, because oddly enough, with 60 you only have 60 on reserve, but with 50 you have 100 on reserve, so 50 round mag plus you get less cons, so go with this. Last but not least, Schlager soldier grip for sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of some recoil control. Set the tuning to negative 0.20 inches for sprint to fire speed and the weight to negative 0.48 ounces for aim down sight speed.